Chosen ones, heaven just released an urgent word. And it's for you. At exactly 3:33 a.m., the world remained cloaked in stillness. No tremor, no siren, no earthquake shook the cities. But in the minds of a select few, alarm screamed with unbearable intensity. Alara bolted upright in bed, gasping for air. Her heart pounded like a war drum against her ribcage. Sweat clung to her skin despite the cool September breeze drifting through her open window in suburban Kansas. The clock beside her blinked. 3:33 a.m. Something had pulled her from the depths of sleep. Something deeper than a dream, sharper than a sound. She stumbled from her bed, heart still hammering, drawn by an inexplicable force to the mirror in her hallway. Her breath caught. Words shimmered on the glass, not written with ink or marker, but etched in pulsing light, as though carved by lightning itself. You've been seen. Prepare. She blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light. But the letters burned with a soft glow, humming faintly like a hidden engine revving in the distance. The words seared into her soul, bypassing thought, filling her with a mix of awe and terror. Suddenly, her phone buzzed violently on the nightstand, dozens of messages pouring in from numbers she didn't recognize. Across the globe, in cities like Tokyo, Lagos, and Buenos Aires, strangers were waking up to the same glowing message, the same suffocating pressure in their chest, the same gut-deep knowing. This wasn't a dream. In a remote village in Nepal, a monk opened his eyes and whispered a name he hadn't spoken in 30 years. In the heart of Paris, a violinist dropped her instrument mid-performance as her vision blurred with light. They were being called. Back in Kansas, Alara stared at her reflection. Her eyes weren't the same. They shimmered faintly, as if a hidden light had been lit behind them. A strange silence fell over the house, but it wasn't peace. It was the hush before the storm. Then came a sound, soft, almost imperceptible, a whisper that wasn't from outside but inside her very mind. It repeated 3 chilling words. 30 days remain. And just like that, a countdown had begun, but toward what none of them yet knew. By morning, the world had begun a twist. Where skies had been clear just hours before, violent storms tore through cities with unnatural precision. Lightning forked down on neighborhoods untouched by rain for weeks. Wind screamed through glass towers, but the weather radars read nothing. No system, no pattern, just chaos. Alara stood frozen on her porch, wrapped in a shawl, watching a thunderstorm rage in perfect silence. No thunder, no rain, just light cracking across the sky in jagged veins. Her neighbor's dog wailed and hid beneath a car. Birds flew in disoriented spirals before vanishing. Then the street lamps began to flicker. Her phone vibrated in her hand, glowing though she hadn't touched it. Messages scrambled. Music apps played notes she didn't recognize, melodies ancient and haunting. Her microwave whispered in static. One word pulsed from every device she owned, as if the world's circuits were possessed. Seen. Panicked, she rushed back inside. Her skin tingled, burning faintly. She unwrapped her palm. There it was, a sigil, faint but unmistakable, glowing beneath the surface of her skin, like a constellation branded in heat. It wasn't ink. It wasn't drawn. It was etched from within, a symbol that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. It looked alive. Alara stared at it, heart thudding. She wasn't alone. Desperate for answers, she turned to the one place no one trusted but everyone used, the internet. She typed into a search bar, 3:33 a.m. glowing mirror message. To her astonishment, hundreds of threads popped up. Forums, blogs, dark web archives. People were waking up across the world, dreaming the same dreams, hearing the same whispers, finding symbols on their skin. But one forum stood out, Chosinan's 333.net. It wasn't just discussion, it was documentation. Images of marks, maps of where storms had struck, even audio recordings of whispered phrases that made her neck hair rise. She joined the community under her first name, Alara-K33. That's when she saw a thread from a user named Ofer. It had hundreds of upvotes, pinned by the moderators. The message was brief, direct, terrifying. This is real. The gate is coming. Trust no one who walks in daylight, but casts no shadow. Dozens of users replied. Some begged for more information. Others claimed they'd seen these shadowless figures, standing still, watching, vanishing when approached. Alera's palms tingled again. The sigil had grown darker. Something was coming, and they had less time than they thought. By the third night, the dreams came, not like passing images, but like revelations carved into the soul. Across deserts, mountains, and cities, 144,000 marked individuals slipped into a synchronized vision, a divine broadcast. Not everyone recognized it for what it was, but those who did woke changed. Forever. Alera's sleep was heavy, as if pulled into another dimension. In the dream, she stood barefoot on ash-covered ground. A forest blazed around her in every direction, trees screaming with fire, their trunks splitting, sending sparks into a starless sky. The air was dense with heat and sorrow, yet she felt no fear. From the heart of the inferno, a figure emerged, radiant, towering, neither male nor female, wings folded in flame and light. The angel's face was veiled, yet somehow she could feel its gaze pierce her deepest thoughts. It held out a scroll, sealed with a golden wax symbol. The same one, now faintly engraved on her skin. Alera, the angel said, its voice thunder and whisper at once. This word is not for the world. It is for the remnant. Take it and carry it through fire. As her trembling fingers reached forward and touched the scroll, the seal burned itself into her hand. She woke with a sharp gasp, drenched in cold sweat. Pain bloomed in her palm. She stumbled out of bed and turned on the light. The symbol from the scroll, the exact same spiral of divine script, was now bleeding into her skin. Not just a mark anymore, but living tissue, as if her body was being rewritten. The blood didn't fall, but shimmered like liquid crystal. Her breath caught, and she was not alone. In South Korea, a soldier in quarantine fell to his knees after receiving the same dream. In Argentina, a 7-year-old girl drew the scroll symbol over and over, speaking in languages no one had taught her. The chosen were awakening, but the world was watching. That same morning, major world governments began releasing subtle warnings through media outlets. News anchors spoke with uneasy urgency. Phrases like widespread delusions and viral hallucinations spread faster than the marks themselves. Official statements followed. Those affected by this so-called 333 phenomenon are considered emotionally unstable and pose a potential threat to social order. Whispers surfaced of blacklists, of people disappearing in the night. Hospitals were quietly admitting patients for evaluation, but some never checked out. New scanners were deployed in airports. Drones monitored homes marked with sigils. The words infected, divine hysteria, and containment crept into headlines. What heaven gave, earth rejected. Alera watched the televised press conference of a U.S. official announcing a coordinated plan to isolate those who claimed to be receiving divine communication. Her blood ran cold. She wasn't sick. She wasn't hallucinating. She had been marked by heaven, and now she was being hunted for it. 7 days became 5. Time bent like a reed in the wind, tightening around the chosen like a noose of fate. The world stirred with anticipation, sensing something ancient and divine was about to rupture through the veil of normalcy. In the remote highlands of rural Ethiopia, nestled between forgotten mountains and sacred rivers, it appeared. The gate. Not built, not summoned, but born. A towering arch of shimmering, impossible light, pulsing with energy that didn't obey the laws of nature. It hovered inches above the ground, humming like a living heartbeat, its surface rippling as if it were a veil of liquid glass. Colors no human eye had words for danced within it, neither warm nor cold, neither day nor night. And words spread like fire through dry grass. Pilgrims came, on foot, on camel, on bloody knees, from cities, jungles, and deserts. Many believed it was heaven's doorway. Some believed it was judgment. Others, rebirth. But the truth was more dangerous. Only the marked could pass. Alara stood among the gathered crowd, her heart pounding like a war drum. A glowing mark pulsed faintly on the underside of her wrist, a spiral of light etched into her flesh like a divine brand. The others without the mark tried anyway, touching the gate with trembling hands, whispering prayers, weeping. They vanished instantly, not transported, not ascended, erased. As screams rose and despair spread, Alara's knees buckled. That night, the dream came again, clearer than before. She floated in a boundless black sky, stars blinking like watchful eyes. A voice, neither male nor female, boomed within her chest. Only those who pass the 7 trials will enter the in-between. Others will perish. One trial begins tonight. She gasped awake, drenched in sweat, her mark now glowing fiercely in the dark. Outside her tent, the gate pulsed louder. The first trial had begun. Alara didn't remember falling asleep. One moment, she was lying beneath a coarse wool blanket, the gate's radiant hum echoing in her bones. The next, she was somewhere else entirely. Transported, not in dream, but in soul and flesh. The realm she entered defied all understanding. There was no ground beneath her feet, no sky above, only a vast expanse of shifting mirrors, each one suspended in the void, each one reflecting not her face, but her memories. They hovered around her like silent witnesses. In the glass, she saw the choices she thought she'd buried. The moment she turned away when her sister cried for help. The lie she told that shattered a friend's life. The deal she struck out of fear, not faith. Her heart pounded as the mirrors spun faster, faster, until they fused into a blinding storm of regret. Then the wind stopped. Before her now stood a figure, tall, cloaked in smoke and shadow, its face a smooth, glowing void. Its voice echoed from within her own chest. "Are you worthy of the burden you seek?" The words weren't a question. They were a command to confront, to confess. Many before her had failed this very trial. Some collapsed under the weight of their shame, reliving betrayals too bitter to bear. Others became drunk on their past power, unwilling to relinquish ego. The realm had no tolerance for pride or self-deceit. Those who failed were unmade, consumed by their own inner void, their screams swallowed by the mirrors. Alara wavered. Tears streamed silently down her cheeks. But she did not run. She did not hide. "I'm not perfect," she whispered, staring into the mirror where her younger self had betrayed her own heart. "But I'm willing to carry it, all of it." The faceless figure tilted its head. A searing light bloomed from the mark on her wrist. Her sigil, once faint, now blazed like a starburst, veins of golden light threading up her arm. She had passed, but the price was not small. When she returned to her body, back at the gate's edge, her hand trembled. The mark remained brighter, yes, but now it pulsed with a rhythm not her own. Her veins glowed faintly beneath her skin, and deep in her eyes, something had changed, something permanent. Every chosen one who survived the trial bore such signs, not just on the body, but on the soul. And Alara knew the next trial would be worse. The chosen are being hunted, not by soldiers or beasts, but from within. Whispers spread like venom through the camps near the gate. Fear took root in hearts once full of purpose. Some began to question the visions, others the trials. A shadow crept silently through the ranks, cloaked in charisma and false light. At the center of it stood Cashin, a man with silver eyes and a voice like honeyed fire. He claimed to be marked by heaven itself, chosen before birth. His sigil glowed like the others, his words wrapped in sacred verse. He promised salvation without suffering, entry through the gate without trials. All he asked was loyalty, and many followed. They called him the second voice. But something in Alara recoiled at the sight of him. His mark, though glowing, fell off. Too perfect, too symmetrical, like something etched, not bestowed, like a copy of something divine. Her dreams turned darker, her visions more violent. One night, she followed him into the shadowed edge of camp, watched as he peeled away the glove on his hand, and with it the illusion. Beneath the glow was not flesh, but something else. Something slick, shifting, not human. He turned, sensing her presence. And in that moment, Elara saw his eyes change, slits like a serpent, black and endless. "You were never meant to see this," he hissed, voice now layered with distortion. Elara ran, but she had seen enough. Cashin's mark had been stolen, carved from the flesh of a dying seer days before he arrived. His presence was no accident. He was sent to fracture the chosen, to twist the word, to hijack the gate. And he was not working alone. She had glimpsed the others, hidden among the pilgrims, wearing stolen sigils, feeding on the growing despair. A war was coming, not just of light and shadow, but of truth and illusion. And Elara would need more than faith to survive it. At sunrise on the sixth day, the sky itself seemed to hold its breath. A blinding light cracked across the horizon. Not fire, not dawn, but something older, purer. And in that moment, every chosen across continents felt it, a psychic summons like a voice inside their bones. It bypassed language, echoing in thought, in dream, in blood. They were being called to the crossing. No map held its location. No road led to it. And yet, guided by instinct, dream, or divine pull, they moved through forests, over ruins, across desert and sea. Some arrived on foot, dust-covered and solemn. Others came in convoys, suspicious eyes scanning the tree lines, hands tight around weapons. Because not all who claimed to be chosen were. The crossing was a hidden place nestled between ridges of black stone, marked by 7 ancient monoliths known only as the 7 Pillars. Each one hummed with silent energy, carved with glyphs that shifted when not directly observed. The ground beneath their feet trembled faintly, as if reality itself thinned here. When they arrived, silence fell. Hundreds stood together for the first time, Elara among them. The air thrummed with power and dread. Some clasped hands and whispered prayers. Others narrowed their eyes, watching everyone as a potential threat. Paranoia thickened the air like smoke. There had been too many lies, too many disappearances, too many unmarked claiming to be marked. Then the word came. Not spoken, not written, felt. Heaven's voice burned into their collective mind like a divine brand. Not all chosen are faithful. Not all faithful are chosen. The message hit like thunder. No one moved. The phrase fractured the fragile trust between them. Elara felt it instantly. How fear slithered between glances, how hands slid to concealed blades, how even the marked eyed one another with suspicion. Who was truly called? Who had followed the path for the right reasons? Who had been corrupted along the way? The ground beneath the 7 pillars cracked, releasing a low hum that made Elara's teeth ache. The final trial was near, and faith alone wouldn't be enough to survive what came next. The sky fractured at dusk, not with thunder, nor with flame, but with silence so vast it consumed all sound. The clouds above the crossing peeled back like burning parchment, revealing a rift, a wound in the sky stitched together by strands of silver light. And from within that rift, it descended. Not an angel, not a demon, but something far older, something before names. The being hovered above the 7 pillars, its form shifting with every heartbeat. At times, it appeared humanoid, draped in robes of molten starlight. At others, it was a vast winged shadow with too many eyes, or a serpent coiled through galaxies. Reality bent around it, struggling to comprehend its presence. All the chosen fell to their knees, some in reverence, others in terror. Its voice came without sound, carried through the marrow, through memory, through soul. You have misunderstood. The gatekeeper spoke not in condemnation, but in clarity. The gate does not lead to paradise. It leads to decision. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The being continued, its words ringing like ancient bells. You are not here to be saved. You are never promised ease, nor heaven. You stand at the threshold because humanity trembles. What you choose here will echo across the stars. A great image formed in the sky, a vision of earth fractured, trembling under the weight of greed, war, despair. Then another image, a future of light and renewal. Not gifted, earned. The chosen are not inheritors. You are architects. You will decide what becomes of your world, or be erased by its collapse. A stillness followed, deeper than silence. And then Alara understood. The dreams, the trials, the marks, they were not invitations to safety. They were tests of vision, of courage, of character. This was never about being rescued. It was about being made ready. The chosen ones weren't gathered to receive salvation. They were brought to become saviors. Alara's hand trembled as her sigil flared again. No longer just a mark of divine favor, but a call to action. The gate loomed ahead, pulsing like a heartbeat. Soon, they would pass through, and what came after would depend on what they chose to build. The seventh sunrise rose blood orange over the crossing. The earth vibrated with low, rhythmic pulses as if the gate itself had grown a heartbeat, alive, aware, waiting. Across the valley, the air shimmered like heat waves, and the sky above darkened unnaturally despite the hour. The final day had come. The gate was no longer a flickering arch. It stood fully open now, a vortex of light and unknowable depth, its center pulsing like a great cosmic heart. Each beat sent shockwaves through the gathered crowd. The gate responded not to presence, not to ritual, but to truth. It could see through flesh, through sigils, through lies. And it demanded purity of purpose. One by one, figures stepped forward. Some were brave, others arrogant. They whispered oaths, promises, declarations. The gate responded with cold indifference. False chosen ones, those who had taken stolen marks, those who clung to ego, power, fear, disintegrated the moment they touched its threshold. No scream escaped them. They were unmade, scattered like dust into the void between worlds. Only the faithful, the tested, the transformed could enter. Alara stood near the front, scroll in hand. Her heart thundered. The scroll was ancient, older than language, yet newly inscribed by her own visions. It pulsed faintly in her grasp, etched with the true word, the divine message meant not to be hoarded, but spoken, lived, shared. She stepped forward, each footfall echoed like a bell in the silence. The crowd held its breath. The gate pulsed again and recognized her. Light curled around her body like wind around flame. The sigil on her wrist flared, and the air shimmered with memory, her trials, her tears, her truth. She stood before the gate, took a breath, and whispered, "I choose to stay, to rebuild, to speak the word." She did not walk through the gate. She knelt before it, choosing earth, choosing responsibility, choosing transformation, not escape. A great silence fell, and then a voice, not the gatekeepers, but something higher, whispered into the hearts of all. One of the 12 has chosen. 11 others would make their choices before the sun fell. But Alara was the first to surrender paradise for purpose. And in that moment, the world shifted. A new age begins, not with celebration, but with reverence. The gate no longer blazes. It breathes, gently now, like a slumbering star. Those who passed through entered the in-between, a realm unbound by linear time, where thoughts shape landscapes, and where broken souls are tempered in the fires of purpose. It is not paradise. It is not punishment. It is becoming. Alara did not cross that threshold. She chose earth, chosen not to escape, but to endure, to build, to guide. She became what the ancients once called a shepherd, one of the 12 whose duty was to prepare the next wave, to nurture the word not as a weapon, but as a living seed. Her eyes now held the weight of 2 worlds. Her voice, when she spoke the word aloud, carried echoes of both heaven and humanity. In the skies above, just as the final sun dipped below the horizon, the clouds parted one last time. A radiant script, not in letters, but in divine frequency, etched itself across the heavens. All could see it. If you could bear to look, it read, "This world was warned. Now it will witness." The message did not end with fear. It began a reckoning. Nations felt it. The air changed. Empires built on lies cracked beneath it. The children born under its light came with dreams of places they'd never been, and memories of choices they hadn't made. The in-between was open. Alara stood at its edge, not as a warrior, not as a prophet, but as a lighthouse, a whisper in the dark, a keeper of the flame. And far away, in a village dusted with twilight, in the quietest hour before dawn, a child woke suddenly from a deep sleep. Their heart pounded, their ears rang, and then they heard it, the whisper, at 3:33. Again, the cycle begins anew. The word has not ended. It has only been rewritten.